Welcome to this spooky video on how to make splatter monsters. I'm Kath from Redgate Farm Art, and some of you may have met me at other Arc Saturday workshops. If we haven't met before, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own splatter monsters and share some hints and tricks on how to improve your artwork. But firstly, let's look at some examples. If you don't have paint, ink or watercolors, you can make your own pigment using coffee. So here you can see I've mixed together just a little bit of water and coffee together, just enough to dissolve it, and then you need to mix it together to create a liquid. Make sure it's all dissolved before you start using it. With this technique, it's called bleeding. You can control your coffee, paint or ink by putting down a layer of water first. Put the water wherever you'd like to put your coffee, paint or ink. Once you're happy with the water, you can then start adding your pigment. Here I'm adding coffee, and I'm going to start to move around the pigment so that it fills the water. You'll notice that the water acts as a barrier and stops it from spreading all over the place. You can then move your piece of paper around, and the water will help it move around the paper so that you can make a more creative splat. This is a really good way of doing a splatter without making too much mess. Using watercolors or using ink is very, very similar to using coffee. So you just put the ink or the pigment down where you want it to go. And if you want to add more than one color, you can. What you'll notice here is that the first color spreads really, really far. But then when you add the second color, it won't add quite as far. It won't spread as far, but it still bleeds through the water. So if you want to, you can pick up your paper and kind of move around your ink so that it mixes together a little bit more. If you want your splatters to be a little bit more definite, you can add those with your paintbrush. So you can add them after you've done your bleeding technique and then move around the image. You could even add some drips by changing the angle of your paper so that it moves down your paper as well. Use your paintbrush to kind of move the water around and have it radiating from the center, so coming out of the center of the page. And then you can just use your paintbrush to add some more details, some more splatters, and maybe add some little drips, just to add a few more details. In this splatter, I just felt like the coffee wasn't dark enough, so I did add a little bit more a little later on. And there you have it. Now you just need to let your splatters dry. Once your splatters are dry, you can then start thinking about the details that you want to add to your splatter. So in this example, I drew eyes on a separate piece of paper using fine liner. I just wanted to make my eyes look really, really angry, and I've also added some shapes and shine to the eyes so that they stand out a little bit more. I've chosen to use red and orange on the eyes, which I've layered to make richer colors. I've drawn this on a separate piece of paper because I wasn't sure exactly what eyes I wanted when I first started doing this. So this means that I'm able to cut them out and add them on at a later date. But if I wasn't happy with this drawing, I could always draw them again. You could also make your eyes using googly eyes if you've got them at home, or you could use colored paper to create your eye details. So it's up to you how you decide to make your facial features. So it's time for the color. I've decided on red already. So I added the red first. I did a light layer of red, and then I added the orange to make the color richer. I kind of want the overall look of my monster to have Halloween type colors. So I'm going to have a lot of oranges and greens. The reason I've used two colors is because it does make your colors richer and more interesting. But if you just want to color them in with pencil, you can. You could also use felt tips or any other materials that you have at home. If you're feeling really brave, you might even paint them. Once you're happy with your facial features, it's time to cut them out. You can also do this with your arms and legs and other features that you want to add. So in this case, I kind of tried my eyes in lots of different positions just to make sure I liked the way it looked. And I ended up turning around my splatter because I kind of found this shape on the left-hand side that almost looks like a nose. So I've put my eyes over there because it just looks more interesting as a monster. So try lots of things out before you decide to glue things down, because you've got the time and you've got the ideas, and then you can just do what looks best. If you didn't want to do it on paper, you could draw your eyes directly onto your monster. You don't have to do it on a separate piece of paper, but it's just a really good way of starting off and making sure you've got things the way you want them. I also decided to draw the rest of my features directly onto my monster. So as I said before, there's kind of a nose shape on the left-hand side of my splat. So I used that as a starting point to show the outline of my monster. And I wanted to add things like scary teeth. I want my monster to look angry. Very angry that she doesn't get to go to a Halloween party this year. So she's looking very angry there with her teeth. And I've got some lips that I've drawn on there as well. I've drawn directly onto mine with fine liner, but you can use any material, so you could draw into it with colored pencils as well. And then I kind of looked at where the splat sat, and I thought she needs to have lots of different legs because she is a monster. So I added some shoes at the bottom. She's got 4 legs, so 4 shoes at the bottom. So I've drawn those with fine liner, and then I'm adding some details to them. And then I need to think about which colors I want to add to this to enhance the details. Wonder how many hands I should draw. Maybe I should have 2. Maybe I should have 3. I guess we'll find out later. So once you're happy with everything you've added, my monster, I've decided she's very angry that she doesn't get to go to a Halloween party. So she's got a party hat on. She's looking pretty angry. She's got a little pom-pom at the top of her party hat. So I'm using layered colored pencils again to add extra detail and richness to the color. It's also a really great way of adding tone. And I'm adding an extra hand on the side here. So I'm drawing it on with fine liner and then adding details with colored pencils. You could do this with felt tips, colored paper, paint, anything that you have at home, because this can be as simple or as detailed as you want. Think about the personality of your monster. Maybe you're going to give your monster a name. I'd really love to hear from you what kind of suggestions you would give me for the name of my monster. I haven't thought of a name for her yet, but she is very interested in a Halloween party. She's got her little skull on her party hat there too. I also decided that she doesn't have very good dental care, so I'm going to add some color to her teeth just to make her teeth stand out a little bit more too. So the amount of detail you add is up to you, but there you have it, my splatter monster. Each splatter monster will look completely different depending on the splat, and you can also add lots more detail, so you could think about simple shapes or even adding a background. There's loads of ideas on my Pinterest page at Redgate Farm Art 1. You can find me by looking at the ARC Pinterest page as well. And once you've made your splatter monsters, make sure you share them with us at ARC Centre and with me at Redgate Farm Art with the hashtag Splattermonsters. I hope you've enjoyed today's activity, and I really hope that you have fun making your own splatter monsters, and also hope you have a happy Halloween. Bye.